This is a Hope 1032 podcast.
As followers of Jesus, in whom all things were made, we acknowledge the Darug people as the traditional custodians of the country on where this podcast is recorded. We recognise their continuing connection to the land and waters and thank them for protecting this land and its ecosystems since time immemorial. We pay our respects to elders past, present and future, and we extend that respect to all First Nations peoples listening today. Warning. This episode contains mentions of suicide and mental illness. Listener discretion is advised, and if you or someone you know needs help, there are resources available in the show notes. I'm Georgia, and welcome to Finding Hope, the podcast that reminds you of the good in the world. Each episode, we tell the story of someone who has found real hope in challenging times and made the world a better place. Episode 52, Leah Brett. Leah Brett is a Christian, a musician, a music teacher, a wife, and a mother. Music and Jesus have been a part of her life since she can remember, and since an early age, she has nurtured a profound connection with various instruments and used her gifts to communicate stories of love, loss, and the human experience. Leah owns a music school with her husband Tom and is a mum to 5-year-old daughter Harper. Leah experienced severe prenatal and postnatal depression, which was exacerbated by the pandemic and lockdowns. She is bravely ready to share her story and has written a song about her experiences called Save Me, which will be played in full at the end of the episode, so make sure you keep listening. It is an honour to have Leah on the show today. Welcome to Finding Hope.
Hello, that intro. Oh my gosh, I'm tearing.
Oh, bless you. No, don't cry yet. Don't cry yet. We've still got so much to talk about. Leah, let's go back to the beginning. Tell me about your childhood. When you look back on it, how do you remember it?
Yeah, it was always hilarious, and there was always me, my older sister, my older brother. We were all into music. But being the youngest, I guess I was always getting away with a lot of things. But yeah, we were all pretty much heavily involved into church, and we kind of formed like mini bands every now and then. But yeah, we just had a lot of like, I guess, fun and doing school and growing up together with occasional or lots of fights. But yeah, it was pretty much, all three of us in this not tiny house, but all crammed together, trying to work our way into life and, yeah.
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you remember the first time you invited Jesus into your life, or was that kind of just like something you were born into, or both?
No, I do. Well, yeah, like my whole family were Christians, even mum's side. Dad's side, probably more Catholic, but we all like attended church, and I just knew church from day one. And I still remember going to like a Sunday morning meeting, and I raised my hand, and I was like 10. And I was like, I don't understand what this is, but I kind of do. When you're like so young, you're like, what does this mean? But yeah, I was still, I guess, so young, and I just started journeying along trying to find who I was and who Jesus was. And
were you always kind of outgoing and extroverted as a kid, or?
Look, I think, I did drama.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I was very much, they called me the drama queen. And when I'd tell a story, I'd look up to the ceiling and my eyes would open, and I wouldn't be looking at the person because I was so animated. And it's really funny to see my daughter doing that now. And it was almost like high school kicked in, and I guess the comparing kicked in, and bang, shy Leah kicked in.
Really?
It's so crazy, yeah. I would be in the back seat all the time. I was too scared to ask questions. It was probably year 6, actually. I guess, yeah, when you go into those teens, you start to go, for me, I probably 100% compared myself.
That's so interesting. So how long would you say like that lasted for before you found yourself again?
Being real, probably a good Oh, well, I'm now 35. Ooh. I could probably say like 20 years.
Yeah,
I was
wow.
pretty quiet. Yeah. I just found, I guess, being the youngest, I guess someone would always talk for me. And I would always have brothers and sisters looking out for me. And yeah, I kind of like to hide in the corner. I mean, I came out of myself more in my 20s probably, but every time it came to performing or like talking, I would just be in crippled fear, anxiety. I would always try and get out of public speaking. I would say that I was sick.
Wow. So it wasn't even performing wasn't even like a safe haven anymore. That crippling anxiety kind of permeated itself into all of that.
Yeah, pretty much. Like it took me a whole year to sing in front of my year 7 class. I think I remember it was like November and we had to do something. And I loved music. I grew up in it. It was just me. It was part of me. But then I had to get up and perform and I was so scared. And it took me a year to say that I was a singer.
Yeah, wow. That is so... How was church in that time? So school, you found it quite difficult. Was church still that place where you could kind of be yourself? Or
Yeah,
yeah.
safe haven. I pretty much was running music teams, the kids band. So I was on every Sunday morning with a lady playing guitar. And so I would be leading worship at probably age 11. And to me, I was still really nervous about it. But I guess we were taught just, I guess, we were taught probably the wrong way. But when you get up and worship lead, you know it's not about you and everyone's singing along and they're closing their eyes. And it's just, yeah, I guess it was easier. But when it came to school, it was a non-Christian school. So everyone's standing there going, entertain me. And they're all like looking and you're like, oh boy.
Yeah.
This is a whole nother side of what I need to show. So yeah, it was pretty scary.
Yeah, wow.
It's hard being a teenager.
Oh, absolutely. I would not go back for the world.
Yeah, I know. And then I guess life and school stressed me out. I actually got Bell's palsy in year 10.
Wow.
It's not common.
No,
not
my
common.
dad's had it though. It's really scary, and I can't imagine how scary it must be as a teenage girl of all things.
Yes.
So for those who don't know what it is, can you explain like the symptoms?
I just remember going out to dinner and I was laughing a lot and then suddenly my face just became numb. So on one side, my whole kind of, I guess I had a mini stroke. So I couldn't like fully smile on one side, like the left and the right. It was just, everything was moving towards the right. And I remember going home going, that's really weird. And I woke up because I had to sing at church that morning. And when I arrived, my friend woke up with a black eye and she wasn't sure what was going on. And I'm singing sideways. So I soldier on and we're both laughing at each other going, what's going on? And I think at that point is where I probably discovered God in a new way, because they said it was going to take a good 6 months for my face to come back. And I went to a healing night. It was probably 6 weeks in. And the next morning, my face had actually lifted and gone back to what it was supposed to look like. And I went to the doctors and they were like, what? Hold on. This is not normal. Like you should be showing signs. Like you should still be, your eyebrows shouldn't be at that. And I was just confident enough to say, well, someone pray for me. I believe in Jesus and he healed me last night.
That's incredible.
And I think from that day dot, I was like, someone, yeah, okay, this is big. Someone's really looking out for me. That's when my faith lifted.
That's incredible. That's really amazing. So you continued through the rest of school. What, did you go to uni after school? What did you study?
So because of like the stress, and it was just before the school certificate, I had a job offer, and my parents have grown up in that, you got to work, you got to go and work. Probably not big, you must go to uni, but, do whatever you want. So for me, I felt to leave in year 10. I was done. The stress and my health, I guess, I couldn't keep up with it. And I got offered an apprenticeship to work at Darrelly, and everyone called me Darrelia.
That's hilarious, but also that sounds like a dream job.
It was great. I was there for 4 years. My personality is I'm loyal, right? So it was my first time job. I got the apprenticeship and I just built my way up in retail. But there was a whole nother side of me going, I just want a gig. and I didn't think I could do it, and I wanted to sing. And I would do here and there gigs, but I had to get a full-time job. Mum and Dad were like, you can't just leave school and not have an income. So it was good living at Mum and Dad's house, having a full-time job.
Did you like retail?
I did, but I felt like it was the only thing I was good at. So I had a very high critic voice that I didn't believe I could go out and study anything. And it wasn't until I probably hit 25, I was like, I want to be a speech pathologist. So I did have to go to Open Foundations and study at uni, and smashed like that. I was really proud of myself. It was a really tough year. And then I came across this amazing still vocal anatomy, which is all based on singing. So those that have nodules or any issues vocally. So I started to study that. And so now I'm more a voice teacher than a speech pathologist.
Yeah,
Crazy.
That's really incredible. And combines, your gifts. It's almost like you're meant to kind of take that path. Do you feel like that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, while I was working full time, I would have Sunday, Monday off, and Mondays I would teach young kids to sing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
I knew I had to do something in music. It just, the joy of like helping others and being surrounded by that was really fulfilling.
Oh, good for you. Now, around the age of 25, that's when you met your husband, Tom. Tell me about that.
Oh, so funny. So I was going through a transition. I just got back from I was overseas for like 7-8 weeks in America, and I just felt it was time to transition and move churches. And I think the first 3 weeks of being there, my sister-in-law and my brother were like, they were running the kids ministry team, and they're like, we really need a guitarist. We are so stuck. Like, please. And I'm like, I've just started coming to the church for 3 weeks. Like, I don't know. And they kept calling me, please, we're so stuck. So I rock up to see Tom was on for drums. So that's where we met the first Sunday morning.
Meant to be.
Yeah, and we even have a photo. It was a dress-up Sunday morning. So there's a photo of me and Tom dressed up in these awful, weird clothes. But that was the first day we met, and Facebook reminds me every year.
That is hilarious. I love
that. It's very
that.
cute. It's very cute.
Tell me about Tom.
He was actually a touring muso. So he would go around and play for a lot of Triple J artists. So he went off and studied at Australian Institute of Music. And I met him probably in his second year of finishing up his degree. And he's just a go-get-em guy, where I'm a procrastinator.
I feel you on that.
It wasn't until like when I said I would love to do gigs, and then once we started dating and we were engaged and stuff, he's like, I'm going to get you a guitar, I'm going to get you an amp, and we're going to get you gigging. He just set me up with the right people and pushed me to be the person that I've always wanted to be. And I kind of needed that kick. And he's just so loyal. He's so kind. Sometimes we call him the Mr. Fix-It because he'll just always fix little things.
That's great. I think everyone needs a Tom in their life.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. And that's like the business and everything. Anyway, we'll go there. But yeah, he's just incredibly smart, very gifted.
Yeah, it's really great. Yeah, as you said, just before you got married, you and Tom took a big leap of faith and bought a business together on the Central Coast. Can you share a bit more about that?
Let's just say we're idiots. We had no idea. Okay, so I had always lived in Newcastle, and when we got offered this a month out from our wedding, it meant that I think we were lingering going, where are we going to live? And it was like we had no idea still when we were planning the wedding. And we were teaching for this guy in Saratoga on the Central Coast. He was actually keen to move to Byron. He really wanted to sell this music school. It was basically Tom was teaching drums. I was teaching singing on just one day. And yeah, we had like guitars, just a very small studio. And so he offered it to us, and we were like, and Tom, the person he is a go-get-em. Okay, we can make this work. Yeah, sure. Yeah. And goes off and researches, mentors and figures it out. He's such a numbers person. So if he says we can do it, I'm like, okay, we can do this. And what's really cute is back when I was probably like 16, I dreamt of having a music school where we taught like dance, drama to like everything. And I think he had a dream as well. Yeah, that he wanted to own a music school. So, we got offered this school, and we took it and had a week and a half honeymoon to come back for term 4 to take over.
That is a lot to take on also as a new married couple. How did you cope?
Look, I think it was survival mode probably. We were probably just like, this has to get done, this has to get done. There was some highs, there was some really bad lows. We just kept going and going until we reached a peak of something had to give, and we needed to, I guess, go and get some marriage counselling because we discovered that we were married to the business. So we had to learn to separate ourselves because we come home and talk about business. We talk about blah, blah, blah. Like it was just everything was the business. So we had to start putting in some healthy boundaries, and we're getting better at that.
I think it's brave to admit that. I think it's a really good thing because I feel like still it's quite taboo to talk about counselling, especially marriage counselling. How did you find that it was helpful?
I guess we were both the communication. Like you think, when you get married, it's just going to be even better. It was, but it's like you had to relearn how to live together. And there was things that he brought into the marriage and that I brought into the marriage, and we would just add each other. So for me, when we sat down and we had someone kind of telling us, oh, hold on, stop. I think he made us see a healthier side, that we could actually be better. And I think every married couple should do it, because you don't realize there's some fun little demons in the closet.
Yeah, thank you so much for sharing that. Now, 5 years after you're married, you had your beautiful daughter, Harper, but the process itself was not an easy one by any means. Even before you were pregnant, you had a lot of anxiety surrounding birth and labour. Why?
Oh, look, I realized it was a small lie that popped into my head. I kicked my toe and someone said, oh, wait till you give birth. And it was funny at such a young age that lie stuck with me. So when I found out I was pregnant, it hit hard. It was brought to my attention more. I was like, oh man, I've got to go through labor now. I might die. And then knowing two other friends went through a horrific birth, and I was so crippled in fear that what is going to happen to me? Is this my last year? It was pretty hectic.
Tell me about when you found out you were pregnant. Were you excited? Were you scared? Were you both?
This is where I feel like I sometimes have regrets about this, but I realized it was just the journey. When I found out, I was crippled with fear. I cried my eyes out. I instantly had that I'm not good enough, I'm not ready. So it took me a while to announce. And once I told everyone was like, yes, yes, yes. And I felt like I was pressured to be excited. So I put on a happy face, even though there was some real hardcore demons running through me going, how do I back out? How do I back out? I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this.
How did that progress kind of as the pregnancy went on?
Well, I got really sick. I think I had a mild case of hypermesia, which is just constant vomiting. You can't hold water down. I was in hospital a lot. My pelvis went 19 weeks, so I couldn't walk properly. I felt like I was constantly getting either like hectic like sickness in my other areas of my body. So I felt like I couldn't be on. And it wasn't until my singing teacher, I had no idea she was a hypnobirthing instructor. She just randomly, one lesson, she goes, oh, you should do my hypnobirthing class. And I was like, sorry, what? And with the name, I was like, oh, I don't know if I believe in this and whatnot. And so I read about what she was doing, and it was like a godsend. Probably 36 weeks. I went to her house for the weekend and learned about the body. I think it's a terrible name. I think it shouldn't be called hypnobirthing. I don't know what else it should be called, but it's more about learning about you can grow a baby so you can give birth to a baby. And it's giving so much confidence to a mom and just stopping and breathing and just listening to your body. And I think there was a lot of meltdowns that weekend. Didn't think I could do it again. And it wasn't till the last day where I felt like, oh, wow, okay, I've got this. And it was like the last 4 weeks of the pregnancy, I felt like I was back at myself again. Yeah, because the whole pregnancy I was too scared to talk to her. Felt like I couldn't touch my belly. It makes me want to cry. But like, I should have been happy. I just didn't know who I was going to be. And I think I wasn't ready to maybe give up my job or, you know, being a wanting to work and everything. Like, I felt like I couldn't. I still was holding on to that. I wasn't able to really talk about my feelings because I didn't know how. Like I said, therapy wasn't really a normal thing. You just soldier on.
Tell me about the birth itself.
Yeah, so that was a miracle. After everything, thinking I can't do this, I was pretty, even like in pregnancy as well, I was quite suicidal. So that's why we did have to go out and get a little bit of counselling at the start there, because I once again thought I couldn't do it. And going through all that to then, I remember it was like a Wednesday night or something. My parents came over. They just felt to visit me. And my friend was sending me these funny memes and I'm bursting out laughing. Like, he just kept coming and next minute contractions started.
Oh,
And I keep saying to that friend, I'm like, you brought on my labour, buddy. And so it was like my body was just clearing out everything. And it was just like I could sense God was there the whole time, even though I was going, here we go, this is it. This is everything that I've been so fearful of. Can I do it? And it's like I went into work mode. Like my husband said, I was such a boss. And I was willing to go with the flow if I needed a cesarean or the HCO shots to epidural, everything. I was up for anything. And the fact that I did it only on morphine, I think at 10 o'clock in the morning, and I gave birth at 2 o'clock that day. So I was kind of up and down in the bath, moving around. I had my mum in there. I had my mum. I had Tom. Tom gets, he passes out when he sees blood. I was like, Mum and my sister, I'm like, you have to be there just in case Tom passes out. I'm half Polish and I actually had a Polish midwife. So it just felt like home. My reaction was like, I did it. You're here. I mean, it was a very, very long labour. It started at 9 o'clock the night before and gave birth at 2, so a good 17 hours. But as I walked away from that, I felt like a superhero. I was like, what? I just did that. I just conquered a fear and I felt amazing. Everything was beautiful in the first 2 hours, just holding her, learning to breastfeed with the beautiful midwives. I had a really great support there. And then it wasn't until the aftercare kicked in. It was horrible. The midwives had to go off and deal with other people. So I was dealing with the nurses, which are lovely. But I think a lot of the nurses were just over their shift. So they were all very rude to me. It got to about 8 o'clock and they asked my husband to leave because he's not allowed to stay overnight. So once he left, bang, thoughts. Oh my gosh, I've just been handed a baby. You're leaving me? What? I don't know how to do this. Why are you going? Like, it was just all this panic, anxiety. And then I had one nurse coming in telling me, you're holding the baby wrong. That's not how you feed. Even though my midwife was teaching me the right way and it was all bliss after the birth, you know? But and then another nurse came in and said, no, that's wrong. That's wrong. Hold it this way. So they're all like at each other, giving me all these different ways that I was ready to crack it. And then I had to get up and I remember asking for help. One lady just rolled her eyes at me as if to say, I'm too busy for you. I was very much not welcomed there. I felt like I needed to leave, but I was too scared to go home because I didn't know how to look after a baby. Everything was about getting through the birth. And once, I think I only lasted 2 nights there, my husband had to say, we're going, you're going. You can't be in this environment anymore. It's too toxic. Even like the breastfeeding lady came by and she was trying to tick off her job and telling me I needed to do it this way. So I was just getting so much advice, different ways of techniques. My nipples were bleeding and they were saying it was because I was doing it wrong. So I felt like I was just getting knifed at. You're the issue. You're the fault, And once I got home, that's probably where everything just became even worse. Like we were doing midnight to 7 a.m. all-nighters. My
Oh.
mum stayed. And I thought, like, one lady was like, I didn't know what a tongue-tied was. When I was in hospital, they were looking, they're like, no, she doesn't look tongue-tied. And I was like, what? What? Tongue-tied? What? What's that? And tongue-tied is when their tongue at the bottom part needs to get snipped. Usually is a sign of like bad bleeding on your nipples. That's the red flag to say she's tongue-tied. So everyone was looking at that and going, no, she's not tongue-tied. No, no, no. So I'm breastfeeding her for like nearly 2 weeks with a tongue tie. I have health nurses coming in once a week checking on me. One lady yelled at me and said, you are not feeding your baby. She should have been on a bottle a week ago. And she was just obviously done with her job too. It wasn't until like maybe 1 or 2 weeks later, we went and saw a specialist in Sydney. She sat there for 2 hours and taught me how to feed her properly. She said, I'm so sorry, she's tongue-tied 100%. So we had to get that snipped, and they say it's more traumatic for the parents. We cried our eyes out. But it was just a 2-second thing and done. So I left feeling like, yes, I've got this. But what I had to do was actually set up a bottle and do formula and put in a tube and pop it through Harper's mouth while she's on my breast. So Harper's thinking she's getting breast milk just to help still bring on my milk. So I had to do that every 2 hours, prepare a bottle, be up late at night, quickly doing a formula while she's screaming and setting up the tube, trying to get her back on, feed the tube through her mouth. Anyway, it wasn't, once again, till Tom goes, you're done breastfeeding. We are not doing this anymore. And I was like, what do you mean? No, I've got to keep going. Because in the past, I had a lot of people say to me, oh, don't go on the bottle. The bottle's bad. Breastfeeding is the way to go. So all these thoughts of I must keep going. I've just got to push my way through this, even though mentally I was just so drained. And it wasn't until Tom was like, we're done. We need to get onto a bottle. So my really good friend, she was actually there when the health nurse yelled at me. When the health nurse left, my friend was like, I'm going to go get you some bottles and formula. You are not to answer that lady's call anymore. Tell her to not come back. You've got this. And I was like, oh, okay. So once she was on formula, things got a bit better, but still learning to navigate life and being housebound was probably the hardest thing.
Tell me about that, because you're a new mum, you're not able to work. Explain the mental side of that.
Yeah, so I was very much, I had a high expectation on myself, thinking that I had to do all these jobs and tick it through, and I was quite lonely. I found it really hard to get out of the house. The hardest thing was, I didn't realise this when I processed it later, that a nurse actually said to my husband after I gave birth, just be careful, watch her. She looks like she's prone to postnatal depression. But they said that outside, not to my face. So in part of my song, I actually say, why didn't they warn me? Because I didn't know what these feelings were. I thought I was feeling so shamed because I was like, wait, this should be a happy time in my life, but why am I feeling lonely? I was at Tom all the time, like yelling, the difficulty in sleeping, thinking Harper would need me. So I trained myself to stay awake at night while she was sleeping. I was like, what happens if her wrap goes over her head, she can't breathe? Like all those crazy stuff. People to Tom's side of the family, wanted to come and visit. I was like, no, they can't, because the house is a mess. I'm a mess. Thinking I had to have it together. That was the lie. I had to have my house perfect and my baby perfect. I had to look like I was doing well, which wasn't okay.
What was the point where you realised, okay, I need help? Or did someone else realise it for you?
I isolated myself because it was too hard to get out, it was mainly Tom. Poor Tom. He copped through a lot. We don't realize that guys do go through depression as well because they have to hold the family together while the wife is like losing it. So I think it got to a point where Tom once again said, "You are not okay. We can't live like this." And it got to about 8 months. She was 8 months old. And she's like, "I booked you in to see a psychologist. It's time. You're not healthy."
Mm.
So it wasn't until he said that. Obviously, I was just a mess. I was so like the routine had to be on. And if he didn't do it right, I was like, "What have you done? You've stuffed up. No, we need to stay like this. Otherwise she'll behave like this if we don't put her down now." And just the what if, so much fear-based. So yeah, it wasn't until 9 months and I got therapy, I noticed some unhealthy patterns that were happening. And it probably took a good 2 years, I have to admit. But it was enough to go, "Oh, whoa, I just told someone my deep thoughts." Um,
It's scary for someone who's super hyper independent as well, and taught that therapy's a weakness, or conditioned in a way since you're a childhood. That's a really big step to make.
yeah, it was huge. And in a way, I guess 2 years after, I was like, why didn't I do it straight away?
Regret is a futile emotion.
I know, right? So I got on meds to help me get through the day. I always saw meds as a sign of weakness too. Maybe that whole if you hurt yourself, keep going. Soldier on, soldier on. If I had the flu, I wouldn't take on flu tablets. I was terrible. But I was nervous as what it would do to my body. So I had this weird lie that meds are bad, can't be on meds. So I did have to start meds just to help because, there was bad suicidal thoughts. There was many a times where Tom didn't know if I would come home alive, which is so hard on him. He was helping, baby screaming, I just had to leave. And I would threaten to go, "I'm done, I'm going to run this car into a pole." I know, right? How bad's that? So for someone to say that and hold that in, hats off to Tom. He's amazing to go, "You're doing this." He's really helped me.
But hats off to you too. That doesn't make you a bad person. You're just unwell.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I know. And I'd hate to know if someone's feeling this way because it's just, you can't hold it together. You can't try and do everything. Like, seeking help is not a sign of weakness.
Every mum I know says, motherhood's the greatest honour.
Yeah.
Best job.
Yeah.
And while I think that's true, I think that there's a kind of constant positive messaging around motherhood that can be really detrimental and dangerous, especially to those who are going through kind of postnatal depression. How do you think the wider conversation around motherhood needs to change?
Yeah, I think we need to be a bit more. I think we need to ask how a mother's mental health is going. I think we focus so much on, all right, the baby's got to hit this milestone. Your boobs are going to be sore. You will be tired, but just watch this and check the baby. Yes, we need to be on that. But how often do we say, "Hey, mum, are you going okay? How is your mental state?" We go through losing our job, losing our body, like everything. It's like a trauma our body goes through. And we don't ask the questions of how are you coping? And I felt like I wasn't really asked that. It was all about the baby, which is, it needs to be. But I didn't know how to look after myself, and I thought that was a sign of just being selfish. But little did I know that you actually need to look after yourself so you can parent better.
Now, Leah, you finally shared your story in this beautiful song, Save Me, which we're going to play in full really, really soon. Tell me, what was the songwriting process like?
It's probably started in the first lockdown. I felt like I got more creative. I had time. So I had little bits of words because I just kind of came out of it. Every time I was, after I gave birth, I was walking past this studio And it's almost like I was guilted, like I should be in here writing, but I couldn't. I would walk past it and not touch my guitar. I felt so sick inside because I know I had something brewing, but I mentally couldn't give it anything. So it wasn't until I was on meds that I felt like I had a bit of a kick up in life. I grabbed my guitar and I just started writing. And I was like, okay, maybe I've got something here, but I tend to write for myself. This is probably the first song anyone has ever heard me do. Like, I've kept all my songs to myself. And so I kind of finished it, kept changing words, and I was like, oh, okay, it's done, whatever. And it wasn't until like maybe 3 months later, a friend calls me. She goes, hey, I had a dream that you have a mental health song. You need to release it. I was like, huh? What? I didn't tell anyone about this. Are you serious? And so it was like she gave me confidence to go, okay, maybe I need to start talking about this. And that wasn't until Harper was about 3, 4. I felt too timid, and I met up with this amazing producer, Andy Mack, who's done a lot of stuff with like Vera Blue, like incredible artists. And it was just, it was a miracle that he said yes, he wanted to work on it. And I said, it's time. I think now that I'm feeling better in myself, I need to share this, because a lot of people out there, they don't share their feelings. I think you just do it and you become a mum and you go. But I was like, no, I think I need to share this and encourage others that it's okay if you're feeling this way. Like, don't feel shame.
Leah Brett, thank you so much for sharing your story today. I so appreciate your time and your honesty. And now to finish the episode, we would love to play your new song, Save Me, in full. Would you like to introduce it?
This is my song called Save Me. And thanks for listening. I'm stuck in a battlefield. There's a tune telling me I'm useless. I'll distract myself with a glass of champagne, or take another pill to hide the pain. I'm looking for a rescue. My friends say where you are is better. I can't keep wondering if I'm better. On the other side, it's a light I cannot hide. I'm stuck in this mess, I'm looking for someone to save me. Save me. I'm so overwhelmed. Can't accept I'm losing myself. Why didn't they want me? No one said I'd be lonely. I'm ashamed to say I'm missing my whole life. Will I be me again? Weaving in my night. I'm stuck in this mess. I'm looking for someone to save me.
That was Save Me by Leah Brett, about her experience with postnatal depression. Thank you so much to Leah for sharing her story today. And you can find more of her work at leahmusic.com. That is spelled Lija music.com, as well as searching for Leah Music on social media. And that information is in the show notes. I'm Georgia, and thank you for listening to this episode of Finding Hope. I'd love to hear your feedback. You can rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. Stories are always better when they're shared, and you never know what you can learn from someone else's journey. And if you or someone you know has a story of hope to share and you'd like to be interviewed for the podcast, I would love to hear from you. You can leave a comment on the Finding Hope page at hopepodcasts.com.au. For now, I'll leave you with this verse. And we know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. Romans chapter 8, verse 28. Catch you next time.
This is a Hope 1032 production. Thanks for listening.